have. So they all mobile north now, which is interesting. So it seems that they're going opposite way of where that carcass is. Maybe the Birmingham boys have come in and stolen it, and they've decided they've had their fill, and they're now going to move back northwards. And I wonder if maybe there's not another male around somewhere as well. But it looks like the Nkuhuma Pride is just the 4 females, so I don't know if there's a 5th one with Byron at that carcass, or it could be our young female that's maybe gone to go and tend to her cubs after a healthy bit of buffalo. I'm really hoping that these guys decide to settle down fairly close by. So there we go, there is a female with Byron, which means that all 4 other females are accounted for as far as I can see, because there's 1, 2, 3, and there should be a 4th one here somewhere. I think there was a 4th one, but we're going to try and keep up with them. They are moving north, so if they keep it up through the morning, unfortunately they're going to probably cross out, which is not ideal. So I'm hoping that they're going to settle down just here. They've had some food, they've got a drink, and they can then take it easy. The interesting thing is that their bellies are not exactly massive. I would have thought they would have had much bigger bellies after eating buffalo. It's not like they're empty, but they're not as big as I would have thought. Generally when lions kill buffalo, they gorge themselves on food, but maybe they've decided they're just going to leave it. I don't know where the buffalo headed from where these lions killed that one, but maybe they've decided it's time to hunt again and to try find buffalo once again. So that's going to be interesting. I'm hoping though that they all settle down and lie down. But isn't this cool just to have them all in the road in front of us? What an epic way to start a day. So male lions, Nkuhuma Pride, buffalo kills, it's all happening, and it's amazing to see every single time there's a buffalo on this property, the Nkuhuma Pride manages to get one. It's amazing to me that their skill and their technique to hunt these buffalo must be incredible, because even though the buffalo are weaker at this time of the year, the buffalo are not in nearly as bad a condition as they were last year, and yet they're still managing to bring them down with ease at the moment, which is fantastic. So the only problem is every time we get a buffalo it gets killed, so the buffalo never stay here. That's okay, at least it brought the lions for a few days. And look at that, all moving down the ditch together. Is that not a sight for sore eyes? Senzo says it's like we're not even here. Makeup girl, you say look at the shaggy coats on those cubs. Yes, well the cubs are covered in bits of blood and all kinds of other things, and dung and varying horrible bits, so they are a little bit on the messy side. They will groom it out as soon as it gets warmer. They will groom it out, so I'm just letting Rex go ahead of me so that he can carry on, and we'll try and see if we can't get around, or can get around, should I say, towards the front of these lions as we go. This is how it works when we follow lions like this and they're mobile, is that it's a game of leapfrog. So everybody has a chance in front and then we go into the back. Now, Byron has still sat with his male, who I believe is now having a little sleep. So let's go back to him and see whether or not he's going to devour that carcass, or if he's just going to nap the rest of the day. And yesterday you laughed at me because I said to you that they're going to hunt buffalo, and you said no, I was being silly. But look where we are, and look how we're sitting. So it was a bit of luck, obviously. There's no guarantee on any of these things. The only thing I do know about the Nkuhumas is if there is a buffalo anywhere within earshot or scent shot, there is no ways that they're not going to attempt to hunt buffalo, and it's the first herd of buffalo that we've seen on Djuma in some time, and it's amazing that we haven't had any sign of the Nkuhuma Pride for, well, it's like 5 days now, 4 or 5 days, and all of a sudden, first herd of buffalo and the Nkuhumas are back in with striking distance. What really is odd to me, though, is that they've left that carcass. I don't understand why they would have gone and drank and then come further north. They've almost headed away from the carcass rather than back towards it. Even though there's a Birmingham boy there, they typically won't leave a carcass just for a Birmingham boy. The whole pride normally sticks around, unless they're a bit unsure about it. Maybe Nsuku's been in a bad mood and came in like a house on fire and pushed them all off it, and they've decided, well, they'll go back maybe later this afternoon once he's had his fill. I'm not quite sure, but it's just interesting that they have moved in this direction and headed a little bit further north of where the kill is itself. And you can see Amber Eyes is having a very good grooming session. So earlier we were talking about the cubs looking a bit dirty, and this is now what's going to happen, is they're all going to get groomed. They're going to get rid of all the blood and bits of stomach content and all the other stuff that they've gotten on themselves, lick any wounds that they may have picked up hunting buffalo, because buffalo hunting is not a game that is played easily, and so you'll find there will be the odd little sort of puncture mark maybe if a horn got them, and so they just get rid of all of those kind of things, and umpires, you're going to roll over. Look at that, and you can see one at the back is being groomed. So it's definitely the younger female by the looks of it that's not here. I think she must be with Nsuku that side. And I wonder if we're not going to find any of the other Birmingham boys coming in at some stage. The noise of a buffalo being killed will often attract the others, and you'll find them coming in and trying to wrestle in on that carcass. And I wouldn't be surprised if tonight maybe Tinyo or Mfumo or one of them arrives back in this area. Here's one of the cubs. It looks like the young male potentially. You see it's getting a little thicker collar of fur around the chin area, so I think it's the young male. I'll have to have a look, but he's the only male within the cubs. The other 5 cubs are all females, and it looked like all 6 cubs are here, so that's good news as well. Always when the Nkuhumas go away, kind of have to recount the cubs again just to make sure everybody's safe. Even though we decided the last time they're not really cubs anymore, we should start calling them sub-adults at some point, that they all are well and healthy. With so many male lions around and so many sort of movement of the Nkuhuma Pride, it's often a bit of a worry when they head off into places that is extremes of their territory, so the extreme north in the Manyaleti. Kind of often wonder whether or not there's others that are around that potentially could hurt them. Now, Senzo, I'm going to move you slightly just so we can get a better angle on the cub being groomed. There's one of the other lionesses, so I just want to try and get into this position here, because that will be better for cub being cleaned, and it looks like the youngest cub with the amber eyes that's being groomed at the moment by Mom. So there we go, look at that. Isn't that a face of happiness? It's like, yes, Mom, clean me. I've eaten too much, now you must clean me. I'm too lazy to do it myself. And there's like, you see the eyes are much darker than the other cubs. It's almost like amber eyes, not as vivid as what amber eyes' color is, but they still have that darker, deeper color than what we see on the honey-colored lionesses of the Nkuhumas, and also on the other cubs. Most of the other cubs also have that honey color like that lion is there. But this is certainly one of a content pride at the moment. They're looking as though they're very happy with life. They've fed. It's now time just to rest. The sun is starting to come up, and I'm so surprised that we're having a day of warm weather, because last night Taylor and I went and saw some of our friends that are staying at Nkoro, and we went to go and just catch up with them, and it was really quite blustery last night. The wind was howling, it was freezing cold, it wasn't very pleasant at all, and I thought we were going to wake up to a horrible cold windy morning, but we've got quite the opposite. It's warm, it's clear, there's not a breath of wind, so I'm super glad that it all kind of blew itself out during the night, and I'm sure that's why the Nkuhuma Pride picked up the scent of those buffalo. The wind was howling and it was really blowing a gale, and so the scent would have drifted a lot further than had it been a still morning like this, and that's maybe why they picked them up. Let's see, is this our young male on the left here? Yes, it is the young male. Ted, you want to know at what age the younger lions, the sub-adults or cubs, will start participating in hunts? Well, it's interesting because generally you'll find it's only around sort of a year and a half, 2 years that they'll actually start participating properly, and only around 2.5 years that they're actually of any use to the adult females, because prior to that they generally are quite small, they're often inexperienced, and they get in the way a little bit more, and particularly with buffalo, they're too small to really make too much of a difference. But the Nkuhuma Pride last year, with the drought and the buffalo being as weak as they were already introducing their cubs to how to kill at a young age. I remember seeing a video of the cubs. They must have been about 4 or 5 months old at the time, and they were being shown, and they were jumping on a live buffalo and getting it by the throat, but the buffalo was so weak that it was a lesson that could be given to the cubs early on. But generally you'll find that they're only really participating in hunts from about 2 years old. They prior to that are smaller, they don't have the bulk, and also completely inexperienced. They need time to watch their mothers, see how things go, and then they can start actively hunting with the rest of the pride. But you can see how it's all about grooming at the moment, just trying to clean themselves up, get rid of all the blood that they've got on them. And then I think it's going to be pass-out session for the day. I wouldn't be surprised we see these Nkuhumas going back towards the pan and then back towards that carcass at some point. But I'm very surprised that they left it already. I would have thought, given that they haven't fed that much, that they would have tried to at least have some sort of a stand with the Birminghams and just make sure that they feed with him. Although, you never know. When the Birminghams are grumpy, they're properly grumpy. And I remember watching them the last buffalo kill that they had. We went out with the staff after the drive had finished, and we watched how the Birminghams came in, and they are not very pleasant around a carcass. They were growling and carrying on, and it was really only Amber Eyes that actually stood her ground. The rest disappeared and left it. So maybe they just have learned from that, and they've decided it's better just to carry on and go and find another meal than to actually fight with one of the Birmingham boys over food. I think Amber Eyes is done for the day. She's had enough, and the rest as well. Nikki, you're wondering how tough the solo male's life is going to be without any brothers. So the answer to that, Nikki, is very tough. It's not going to be easy at all, unless he can find himself a little partner in crime. So the previous male that was born to the Nkuhuma Pride, who's called Junior, he was also a single solo male, and life for him was looking as though it was going to be very, very difficult. And he somehow managed to join up with a male of a similar age, and the two of them now roam around to the north of us, around the Open Gate area, and are seen sometimes in northern Manyeleti and the southern Timbavati, and they seem to be doing just fine. So if he can find another coalition member from somewhere else, which would be interesting if he was able to do that, it would be not a common occurrence at all, but if he did, then his chances would infinitely increase. But a single lone male lion is very, very difficult. And in my time in the Sabi Sands, of the single male lions that I've seen, the Styx males and varying others, there's been very few that have actually made it all the way through and become territorially dominant. It's only the Nkuhuma Pride that's, funny enough, seems to produce these young males that are able to sort of find their way. So we had the Nkuhuma male prior to Junior. He also managed to join up with a different male and form a coalition in Manyeleti. But if they just stay by themselves like the Styx male, they generally meet an untimely end, unfortunately. So it's going to be really tough for him, and he's going to have a hard time of it over the next little bit. Well, not the next little bit. The next little bit he's going to have, well, heaven. He's got 5 females that are hunting and finding food for him, but once he becomes sort of 3.5, he's going to have a tough time. Now we're going to stay with our lions and watch Amber Eyes and the rest have a lovely nap and see if they do decide to get up and start moving back towards the carcass or the dam. While we do that, let's go back to Byron and see how his male's doing and whether his male has feasted himself to a Christmas dinner-like belly. Oh, Byron, if only that were true, mister. I fell, hurt my back, can't walk, have to take pain medication so I can sleep. Definitely think that he's the softer side of what's going on at the moment, and I'm sure Taylor would agree as well. I know Taylor is up and watching because, well, she's can't sleep. She's an insomniac, so this morning when we came down, even though it's her morning off, she was already awake and greeting us, and so I'm sure she will agree with me that Byron's the softer one since he's got the old man back at the moment. But yes, talking about softer side of nature, well, I don't know about softer side, but definitely sleepy side of nature at the moment. These lions have passed out completely. There is not one single head up at the moment. Everybody is flat, and tired and having a really good nap. Well, there's actually one that's not flat, and there's that female over there who's sitting very unladylike at the moment with paws in the air and legs open. But if you're a lion, that is the best way to rest and relax. They open themselves up like that so that they actually help with cooling down. They think they're getting quite warm in the sun already because you can see her tummy is right in the sunshine, so she might be getting a little bit hotter as she tries to digest that tummy full. Now, as being told that the buffalo has not been eaten much at all, so it's possible that these guys killed something else. It really is the buffalo herd that Byron saw last night. I have no idea if there was young buffalo inside there. There might have been young buffalo in that herd that they grabbed a small one, and that's why they've eaten that and moved off, or they could have had another carcass altogether. But they've definitely come from the same direction that male came from, so I wonder if they possibly, as you'll surmise maybe, or that we surmise, that they could have had another kill. It is possible. I don't know. I obviously haven't seen the other kill, so it's difficult to say how much of that carcass has been eaten, but given that the Birmingham male is tearing into the face of that buffalo would mean that these guys probably didn't eat much of that. So maybe they brought it down, and then they managed to chase another one and bring that one down, and they've eaten off that one, and they might be 2 kills, but I'm not sure. The thing is, if there was 2 kills, I would be very surprised if these lions had left a whole buffalo that's completely uneaten to itself, well, not uneaten, should we say, half eaten, because their tummies are not full enough to have digested a fully grown buffalo and eaten all of it. So maybe they got a younger one, or they caught something else, maybe a wildebeest or a zebra, and they've polished that off and then moved on. But the tracks of the Pride are the ones that hunted those buffaloes, so they must have been the ones that brought it down. It's just is a mystery as to what they actually fed on to get their tummies this size, because whatever it wasn't massive. When you see lions eating buffalo, normally they've got these big swollen round bellies, so I don't know, maybe they ate something small. Also, we don't know what they've eaten over the last few days. We don't know what their condition was when they came into this area. They might have had something in the Manyaleti, and they might have been having big full tummies yesterday, and this is just the sort of digestion from last night. Difficult to say. It's when we don't follow them around every day and don't have them every day, it's hard to put together all the pieces. But if there is a whole buffalo, I doubt they were there and feeding on it. They must have had something else somewhere. But I don't think we're going to stay with our Pride too much longer. As much as I love the Nkuhuma Pride and spending time with them when they're very fast asleep like this, there's not going to be too much more movement for the day. There might just be a bit of shuffling here and shuffling there as the sun comes out. So I think what we're going to do is probably head off, leave them to themselves. We might pop past a little bit later. Also, we'll keep an eye on the dam cam and see if they move that way again. Then we can come back. But I think let's go and see what else we can find while Byron's busy with his kill. We maybe try and go see if we can find some ellies or follow up on the leopard tracks. Now, earlier, I think I broke up and we kind of dropped off with signal, and gremlins attacked when I was talking about the leopard that moved into this area. And I was saying that it is one of my favorite leopards that came in. And so it wasn't in Chila like I thought it would be. When we heard that it was female tracks coming that way, I thought maybe in Chila. It actually turned out it was Tiani. Now, Tiani is the daughter of Salahesh, and probably one of the most beautiful leopards there is out there. She's got the most incredible eyes, very similar to Tumba, except hers are a little bit more blue than green. So that's a really nice surprise, and I'm hoping that she's going to spend more time aside. So I'm going to go head up that way, go check around, see if I can't find any tracks for Tiani, see if she's maybe still on our property. And so while I do that, let's go back across to Byron, who's staring into the eyes of a lady, and well, I wonder if it's melting his heart.